for our activity tonight, which will be a spectrogram, which is an activity where people will be faced with a specific statement that they will then have to make a decision on where they stand in relation to that statement. They then will place themselves along this line of tape on the floor, on this side if they agree, and then over here on this side if they disagree, or somewhere in the middle, or hovering around on one side or the other.
My name is Sherry Holm. I'm from West Central Initiative, which is in Fergus Falls, West Central Minnesota. And I mostly disagree because I feel that most people, when they answer very quickly like that, have already thought about this issue. This issue is near and dear to their heart, so they know what they're going to say, so they're quick at answering that.
My name is Kari, and I'm with Central Lakes College in Brainerd, Minnesota. And I think that sometimes the immediate response by somebody might seem like there's not reflection, but the fact that you're getting more voices does allow for more people to actually contribute their opinion, and then it allows for the opportunity to re-reflect, having more voices with an original input. So you're having more opinions that you're looking at, and therefore I think causes deeper reflection.
So I guess I'd like to challenge the question at its core and say, I think thinking alone is overrated. If you think about it, thinking only matters when it's paired with action. And comments and feedback, that's action. Way more valuable than any thought. Because you can sit and think and cogitate as long as you want, but it's the act of communicating it or doing something else about it that matters.
I'm Pam Colby. I'm Executive Director at Minneapolis Television Network in Minneapolis. We're community TV and we do a lot of online work. And I'm also on the board of the TC Daily Planet. And I think the more the merrier the voices, and I know a lot of people pop and instantly send the email or instantly respond. I think it's improving the democracy, and I think the election of Barack Obama just shows that.
Wow, Jeff. Jeff Nairbrooke from the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits, and I disagree. I think that the short kind of sound-bitey way of doing things is leading us in the wrong direction. I don't think it's about the number of voices as much as the quality of the voices. So I do think everybody needs to engage, but if, you know, democracy without depth is, where does that leave us? And I would leave as sort of evidence of kind of where the top of your, what's on the top of your mind, where that'll leave you. I think we've all been to the Star Tribune's comments page. You know, a lot of voices. I don't think it's a very productive conversation. So I think I think there's examples of top of the head conversations that can go right, but I think the trajectory of where we're going it pulls us the wrong way.
We recently at the foundation had some big news headlines about this conservation easement thing that we did, and I went on the comment page on Star Tribune. And it's an arresting experience. And I firmly believe that democracy works when the electorate is well informed. And I think that the foundation of a functioning democracy is people that have informed opinions. And the kind of scattershot, knee-jerk, uninformed, prejudicial voices that are just responding to some, do not advance the public civic discourse. And it's been actually very disheartening for me to see that kind of feedback on stuff out there. I think that informed voices are the key, and that providing platforms for this instant response that are just telescoping people's prejudices or views is not helpful.
Jeff Hewland from Bemidji. I think too that what if this is the first time that someone jumps into a debate on politics? And a lot of young people in particular, this is their medium, this is what they understand. This might be the first time to get to that side of the spectrum, right? To become more informed, to get that depth that maybe will make them better at this in the end.
the idea of getting as many voices in the conversation is incredibly important. When we talk about advancing the ball on the democratic processes, are we talking about the same thing? And I'm not certain just instant responses to everything you think actually advances the ball in a constructive, concerted way to better inform us as citizens and educated voters. And I think one of the big problems is actually pointing to Sherry's point, the assumption that when people think that when people speak they know what they're talking about has led a lot of people down a primrose path. Someone sounds sort of logical and they're making a lot of what I think as very surfacey sense, but when I think about the premise, maybe I don't agree with the underlying premise, but I haven't taken enough time to think about it, and I'm assuming that this person knows what they're talking about because of the fact they either talk a lot, right, or because they have a particular title. And what happens is, so then you get a following behind somebody who is simply just, you know, chatty. And which I think is distinctly different than taking the difference between broad voices and communication in the context of a public discourse and moving it in a concept of informed, progressive democracy to advance whatever ball it is that you want to see moved. So I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's a very good thing for a lot of the reasons people say. Does it itself advance democracy as we think about democracy? I'm not sure I can say that.
Online discussion is ongoing. It's temporal. I mean, I'm a journalist, and so I really believe in informed writing in the public sphere. The thing is, online discussion is very different. I mean, I use a lot of social media, but online discussion is a process. And people are educated by it. It's one of the very few places I've ever seen anybody change their mind in public. And it's easier to do because, like, you're in your house, you know? So I think it is a process, and I think it does, painful as it may be, you know, and irritating as it may be to see people spouting hate. I think it does gradually and incrementally advance democracy.
When you talk about what happens online is that you get a lot of emotional responses, a lot of cliches that people have bouncing around in their heads, and that's not a bad thing for people to have the opportunity to express those things as part of the ongoing thing that happens, that we make decisions, the background to those decisions. But democracy is about us figuring out where we disagree and then working out some way to move ahead despite all of those disagreements. And if you drown out the voices of people who disagree with you just because you don't like what they're saying, even if they don't articulate it very well, then we don't have really a democracy. We need to engage everybody. And that's something that you can do online, but I don't think that's really about democracy. That's about giving people a chance to express themselves. And they need the chance to express themselves, whether they do it well, badly, or whether we agree or disagree with it. And there's value in giving people that opportunity. I think it changes the country.
New media, Web 2.0, doesn't mean you don't have time to think, which is the premise of this question. You can design the tools so that you force people to have time to think. E-democracy is one example. Early on, we learned that if you limited people to 2 posts per day, that second post they really hold back because they don't want to waste it and they think about it a little bit more before they send it. So you can design the tools to force people to take a little bit of time to think.